Hey guys, today I wanted to come to you with one issue that I know that the church has in general, and this video is mainly for both um, those who are Christians or who do attend a church, and for those non-believers or those young believers who are looking for a church, or maybe you're looking for a place to go. And this is one issue that the church has, and I know it has it because I felt it when I was unsaved. I still feel it today when I am born again, and this is an issue that has been brought up to me over and over and over and over again. And if it applies to you, it applies to you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Or to your church. I don't believe it applies to my church. We are a very small church. We are a very, and we are a poorer church. So it doesn't really apply to us, but there are churches, sister churches of ours, and other churches in our network. This absolutely applies to them, and that is the issue of partiality. And unfortunately, it is a huge problem in a lot of churches. And what do I mean by partiality? I mean favoritism. And you can have favoritism all over in a church, and it will and should, in my opinion, kill a church. And this issue isn't new. This is something that's gone on since the beginning of the church, and it actually is addressed in the book of James in chapter 2. And I wanted to read that to you right now, actually. But this is something that we all have to work on. This is something that the church has to work on. And this is something that we all should look out for. And I'm going to read it right quick. It says, I got my trusty King James. Use any version that you want. Just make sure that is a good translation version. Some versions leave verses out. Some versions leave things out. So, but it starts in chapter 2. And it says, so in James chapter 2, it starts off in verses 1 through 4. It says, "My brethren, have not the faith of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Lord of glory, with respect to persons. For if there come unto your assembly a man with a gold ring in goodly apparel, and there come also a poor man with vile remnant, and ye have respect to him that weareth the gay clothing, and saith unto him, Sit thou here in the good place. And he saith to the poor, Stand thou there, or sit here under my footstool. Are ye not then partial in yourselves, and are becoming judges of evil thoughts?" That is the most unfortunate part, because I know when I was a young believer, even actually before I became a believer, I was greeted. I started talking to a guy I work with, and he was pretty instrumental in me being saved. And he was very kind. He always had questions or answers for my questions, and someone I got along with quite well. But I was still not committed to the church or anything like that, and still wasn't saved. But I'll never forget, I joined my in-laws and my wife at their church, and at the end of the service, I got the hellos and great to finally meet you. We heard all about you, kind of stuff. Stuff you get at a fake church. People who are fake at church and things like that. But what really got to me was at the end of the service, the wife of the guy that I've been talking to, who I'd never met, and he wasn't there that night, but his wife was there, and she said, "Hey," and I'll leave his name out of here, but he wants me to tell you, or to say hi, or and she greeted me. And the fact he would go out of his way to tell his wife, there's this guy, he might be coming, just tell him I say hi if he's there. That greeting, it felt real. And I've never found anyone fake at the church that I'm in, because we all have that radar that goes off. And I've gotten it at a lot of churches. And I've gotten it at churches, there was one church that I started to attend when I was young in my, after being saved, and I got the hello, nice city, nice, but nobody wanted to talk to me. Nobody went out of their way. And finally the pastor came with like a welcome packet, which, we have a welcome kind of folder, a little thing, with a card and stuff and contact info. But he came to me with this welcome stuff, and he's like, here you go, you're basically a member. We let anybody become members, doesn't matter. And he said, here's the most important part. These are your tithing envelopes. And there are so many issues with the way people see the church. And I'm doing everything I can to change that. At least at my church, it doesn't need to be changed. I mean, my pastor said from the pulpit, if it's hard for you to give to God, then keep your stinking money, is a quote from the pulpit, So, but this is a huge problem, and I hear it all the time, and I try to tell people my church is different, but everybody says that. How is your church? Do you feel welcome? Are you welcoming to strangers, to others? Are you welcoming to those who don't dress a certain way, don't look a certain way, drive a certain car, part of a certain family? Because it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what your legacy is, how long you've been saved. None of that matters. If you actually read the Bible, you understand that. None of that matters. And it doesn't matter if somebody comes in with gay apparel and golden rings, or somebody comes in, with their vile remnant. Doesn't matter. You need to treat everybody equally. You need to show love to everyone equally. And it's just amazing to me how we can be, as especially as church people, how we can treat people so differently. I hope your church isn't like that, and I hope you're not like that, whoever's watching this. But I know this is a reputation that the church has in general. And, if your church, if this is happening in your church, change it. Change it. Be the change. You can do it. I have done everything I can at my church to show people that we're different, that I'm different, that this isn't something this isn't something we partake in. And I actually gave a sermon on this, and it was kind of weird giving the sermon because I'd never felt like that in my church, but this is a reputation that the church has, so I want to warn people about it. And just look at yourself, look at who you are, who you're hanging out with, and how your church is treating others. And do everything you can not to show partiality. We're supposed to love each other. We're supposed to love our neighbor. And it didn't say love our rich neighbor, our white neighbor, our black neighbor, our poor neighbor. It just said love our neighbor. Remember that. And maybe, this is falling on deaf ears because your church doesn't partake, which is fantastic because the church really shouldn't. You need to be welcoming to everybody. And it doesn't matter if you're poor or if you're rich or anything of that sort. But thank you for listening, and I hope it didn't come off as a rant. It's not supposed to be like that. I'm just trying to teach little by little, and see problems in the church today. Because it's, we have so much going on in our lives that is so hard already. There's so many roadblocks for Christians to invite people out to church, and for people to actually put time aside on Sunday to go to a church is tough these days. I don't know if you've noticed. and I live in the state of Wisconsin, so the Green Bay Packers here are an actual religion. That's what it feels like. And that's just something else we have to deal with. 6 months out of the year, it's Packer Football Sunday. So why put up more roadblocks voluntarily than we already have trying to get people back in the church? Why would we voluntarily put the roadblocks of partiality or hypocrisy or any of that in our way when we already have trouble getting people out? So it's just something to think about. I appreciate you watching this video. Please subscribe to the channel, comment below. I'd love to hear your take on these verses. I'd love to hear your take on this section, and maybe you feel like I've gotten it wrong. I'd love to hear your comments. But thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the support. And I hope you have a blessed day.